Today's newspapers, and what do the headlines have in common? One thing: trust. Can we trust the officers? Can we trust the prosecutors? Can we trust turkey is safe in Minnesota to eat? Can we trust the Democrats and Republicans will work together to make this budget deal? Can we trust Iran means what they say? Can we trust big business? What's trust got to do with it? Everything. Today I want you to think bigger about trust and the impact of trust. You know, my kids understand trust. Public restroom, the stall was not available, but as you can see, they trust each other. Every mom in here is saying, that boy on the bottom better wash his hands. Right? Everything is built on trust. From financial institutions to personal relationship, everything. And yet we can think we know it all about trust. Do we really, or is it more complex than we might think? You know, we can sometimes think it takes a long time to build trust. And yet in a crisis like 9/11, strangers trusted each other in moments. A leader can think, oh, you know, we got to extend more trust. The more we extend, the more we'll get out of our team. Unless they extend too much. I hear it all the time today. People trust the transparent. You got to have transparency. Got to show everything. And yet confidentiality is also trusted. My graduate research led me to believe that trust is the single uniqueness of the greatest leaders and organizations of all time. I love doing the research. I love writing on it. I love it working with great organizations, Wells Fargo to FedEx to the Yankees to John Deere. But today, I want to go back to my original training ground of trust. Back to where I grew up, the bean farm in north central Minnesota. You know, I want to think about where I started to think about how a lack of trust is your biggest expense. About how you actually build trust, and that might be more than you think. About how trust is a choice. Verndale, Minnesota. 500 people live there, a lot more cattle. It's about 3-hour drive northwest of the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul. But I didn't grow up in Verndale. I grew up 8 miles north of Verndale on a 1,200-acre bean farm. I remember taking the school bus home every day from school, peering out the window, halfway home. I'd look out the window, and there at the end of his long driveway, Mr. Olson's veggie stand. And amidst the produce, right next to the strawberries, the squash, and the sweet corn, was a bucket, a pail with cash bills, money sticking right out of it, plain as could be. But nobody worked the stand. What are you supposed to do at Ralph's stand? Pick what you want, make your own change, pay what you owe. He ran the stand on the honor or trust system. Whoa. What an efficiency. I mean, he saved money because he didn't have to hire anybody to be there, right? He saved time because he didn't have to be there. And people could choose as fast as they want, as slow as they want. They could pick what they wanted. They could make their own change. People didn't have to take off food gloves or latex gloves. They could move right through. And boy, did he have loyal customers. Partly because of trust. Where we have trust, we have a great advantage. You know, some of the research showed mistrust more than doubles the cost of doing business. In one of the pieces of research, high-trust companies outperform low-trust companies by nearly 200%. This is basically the sum up of the first half of my research. Every single time trust increased just a little bit, this is exactly what happened. In organizations, profits, nonprofits, professional sports teams, even governments, every single time trust increased just a little bit. Output, morale, retention, productivity, innovation, loyalty went up. Every time, real costs, time, it all went down. Stress went down. Think about innovation. You got a team you trust, you'll share ideas. Team you don't trust each other, you won't share ideas. Creativity goes up. Everything, I believe the single metric of success comes down to trust. If you think trust is just a soft skill, it doesn't really affect impact or the bottom line, ask Brian Williams. Ask Target Corporation. Ask Tiger Woods. Think of Tiger. 27 breaches of trust. He lost $110 million in 2 weeks in endorsements that he'll never recover. Your credit score is a trust score, isn't it? The more you're trusted by the lender, the less you pay over the course of the loan. Everything's tied to trust. There's even research that shows in countries where citizens trust each other more, poverty is less, and vice versa. I went back to my university. I was asked to be the commencement speaker a couple years ago at my alma mater. I was grateful for that. Walk up on campus, and the first thing I notice on campus is the post office boxes where all the students have to get their mail, right? But it's different. 23 years later, they're in the same spot, same numbers on them, but 23 years later, every single P.O. box has a lock on it. A thumb combination lock, no less. Because some freshmen put something stupid in some sophomore's P.O. box. Now they all have locks. What's the cost of having that breach of trust? A few bucks for the locks? What's the real cost? Time. Instead of just going and collecting my grades, instead of just going and collecting, for me, my check every Friday for scraping plates at food service for $3 an hour, instead of going and collecting that note I hope for from that sophomore, I got to use a thumb combination lock. The cost is time. Every time trust increases, everything changes. What's this mean to you? It's worth considering what a lack of trust costs you every single day, because it's more than you might think. But there's a way to build trust. Now, the second part of the research, I said, if trust really is this important, how do you build it? Is it just honesty and integrity like people think, or is there more to it? Turns out there was more to it. There were 8 traits that came out of, that were common to the most trusted leaders, brands, and organizations of all time, even governments. 8 commonalities. I call them pillars because I think they hold up this great advantage of being trusted. Just touch on a few of them today to just get us thinking. One of the pillars was clarity. We found people trust the clear and they mistrust or distrust the ambiguous. And people think they're clear. Think about this. A leader that's clear about the vision, we tend to get unified behind. Elections have been won on this pillar by probably a worse candidate, but they were more clear. A salesperson that's clear about the benefits of that product to me, I tend to buy from. The professor that's not clear about the assignment, I get frustrated with. Clarity is trusted. Another pillar, competency. You know, I might trust you. You've got character. You've got compassion. I might trust you to take my kids to the ball game, but I may not trust you to give me a root canal because you don't have the competency for it. So you've got to stay fresh, relevant, and capable in the area you want to be trusted. Another pillar, commitment. We found people trusted those that they believe would stick in the face of adversity, that were committed. In 1981, when the new ownership of Harley-Davidson took over, by the way, Harley-Davidson wasn't always the great trusted brand in the U.S. that it is today. And the new ownership took over, and they said, we're going to be committed in 2 new ways. We're going to be committed to quality, and we're going to be committed to our favorite first-time buyer, who they defined as the yuppie that wants to look like a renegade on the weekend. And they stayed committed. And if you would have put $1 in Harley-Davidson stock in the 25 years before I did the research, your dollar would have appreciated by nearly 18,000%. Commitment breeds commitment. I one time had a vice president of sales come up to me and said, David, I read the book and I love the chapter on commitment. Can you just tell my team to be committed to me? No. You got to be committed to them first, because commitment breeds commitment. People often ask me, you talk about trust, but how do you rebuild trust? First, I'll tell you what it's not. It's not the apology. People think it's just the apology. But what do people say? I'm sorry I'm late. No, you're not. You're late every time. The only way to rebuild trust, and there's a little more to it in situations, but it's basically boiled down to this. The only way to rebuild trust, the only way I'll trust you again is to make and keep a commitment. Quit making them so lightly. Commitment. Another pillar is consistency. We're trusted for whatever we do all the time, right? If for good or bad, if you're late all the time, I trust you to be late. This is why we trust McDonald's. We might not like McDonald's, but we trust them because I've had the same exact burger in Frankfurt, Tokyo, and Cleveland. It's the same. Sameness is trusted. There's a challenge. Every single interaction we have with every single person, we increase or decrease trust just a little bit. Because every interaction we increase trust or decrease trust. The only way to build a brand is consistency. The only way to build a reputation is consistency. Whatever you do consistently, consistency is trusted. So there's a way to build trust. What does this mean to you? I believe, not arrogantly, but I believe, in our work globally, I believe you can solve every leadership and organizational problem against the 8 pillars of trust. I believe it's a trust problem. People think it's a different problem. It's actually a trust problem, I believe. So it's worth making a priority of it. But trust is also a choice. Doesn't mean I believe we should trust everyone. I mean, the most deceptive person is the one who looks trustworthy, but in fact is not, right? I don't trust my flight to be on time. I've had experience just 48 hours ago. I don't trust that boy with my daughter. I've been a boy. I don't trust reality TV. Is that real? If you do, you might have a problem. But where we find it, where we have it, where we can choose it, we can enjoy a great advantage. Back to the farm one more time. You know, we live down in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, my 4 kids, my wife and I, and Mom and Dad still live up at the farm. They run the farm. Dad's 85 now, but he kept calling. He said, David, when are you going to bring the grandkids up to the rodeo? Because even though only 500 people live in Verndale, 2,000 people come every night to one of the biggest rodeos in Minnesota. They come to the big Sunby Arena where there's often a big horse sale. People come from all over, so finally, 3 years ago, I said, Dad, we'll be there. We take the kids out of school early, we head up to Verndale, we get there, Dad's got tickets for us, and we get to the short line, we get a great spot on the bleachers. Now, if you haven't been to a rodeo for a while, first half of the rodeo, the cowboys and cowgirls, they rope things. Second half of the rodeo, they get bucked off of things. But in the middle, it's your opportunity for the locals to get involved. They call it mutton busting. This is where they let 5 to 8-year-old kids see how long they can last riding a sheep. A big sheep. So it's almost time for this halftime, and the big announcer down by the American flag, ladies and gentlemen, it's almost time for mutton busting. I'm going to read off the names. I pull up the hat. Those of you families and kids that put your names in the hat, I'm just going to go ahead and read off your names. First 8 names that I pull out, come on down here to the bull gate, and we'll get started. Starts reading off the names. Billy, Susie, Vanessa Horsager, Isaiah Horsager. I look over at my stoic Norwegian father. He just smiles. My 2 kids, they look up at me in terror. I put my arms around Vanessa and Isaiah. I said, this is going to be fun. We walk around the bleachers, all the way around the American flag, all the way over to the bull gate. And there's a lady there to tell us how this works. Okay, kids, here's what you do. Now, you just get on the sheep, and the sheep takes off, and you'll fall off. But don't worry, the whole arena is sand. It's like a big, giant sandbox. This is fun. My kids are not buying it. Now, they know how to do this in Texas and Oklahoma and Canada. But Minnesota, they're just learning because those kids would get on the sheep, they would sit on there like this, the sheep would take off, and the kid would fall off. I'd seen this before. Vanessa, she's one of the last to go. So, Vanessa, you can't do it like that. Vanessa, you got to take those dangly 8-year-old legs, you got to wrap them around the belly, you got to pinch your heels as tight as you can. Vanessa, you can't sit up like this. You got to lay down. You got to Velcro your belly to the wool. You got to wrap your arms around the neck. You got to dig your fingers into the wool. And whatever you do, Vanessa, don't let go. I'm a great dad. They open the bull gate. That sheep takes off out of there. She's like, people say, look at the little, can you believe the little, she's still on. You know what that sheep does? It runs all the way across the arena to the far corner where all the sheep gathered that dumped off their kids. That's what sheep do. They gather together and they laugh. First sheep that it sees, it butts it right in the side. Bam! She goes, ah! But she holds on. Sheep doesn't know what to do, so it takes off around the arena. She's a little bit sideways now, but second time around the arena, Verndale, Minnesota, 2,000 people standing up, screaming and cheering. Stoic Norwegian has a tear. It's his granddaughter. Third time around the arena, the clowns come out. Little girl, you can let go now. She will not let go. Finally, they get the sheep stopped over in the corner, but she won't get off. The announcer didn't know what to do. 2,000 people screaming and cheering. The rodeo queen's getting off her perch, walking toward the middle with a trophy for the kid that lasted the longest. But she won't get off. Is there a dad here? I'll never forget it. Walk out into that arena. I walk over to my daughter. I pick off my daughter. 2,000 people stay screaming and cheering, and I will never forget what she said in my ear. Daddy, why did the clowns say let go? You said never let go. I'm grateful she trusted me. But she also trusted herself. And, as important, she knew who not to trust. Don't trust clowns, they're scary. Trust is a choice. Every single time you choose it or choose against it, it has benefits or consequences. Imagine what would happen if you could be that person that was trusted by everybody every time. You know, what do we know? Organizations don't get better. Countries don't get better. Individuals get better. But when one person becomes more trustworthy than a family, a community, a country, can get better. So what's trust got to do with it? Everything.